Welcome one, welcome all to Vision Podcast. This podcast focuses on athletes past, present and future. I'm your host Jordan McKenna and I help athletes tell their stories. Everyone has their sights set on something. I know everyone has a vision, and my question is, what's yours? Hello and welcome to episode 71 of Vision Podcast. This week's episode focuses on Brazilian Daniel Sigaki. Dan talks to us about what it was like for him growing up in Brazil as an athlete, as well as what the mentality behind athletics has done for him in every other aspect of life. Here is my chat with Dan Sigaki. I'm with Dan Sigaki from Brazil. Dan, thank you very much for joining me for a chat.
All right, thank you, man, for inviting me.
No problem, mate. Well, you do a lot of work with Josh as a party and Jack Forhaker, who have joined me before. But I'm here to learn about you. Can you tell me about how you began in athletics?
Oh, yeah, so I have a history in my family. So my father is an athlete. He used to be actually, right? And he used to be a sprinter, and he brought us to the sports very young, me and my brother. I have an older brother. He's like 7 years older than me. And he always wanted us to do sports, and he never straight pressured us to do track and field. So he always whatever sport that we want to do, he was trying us to do it. But we found in love doing track and field, and we were pretty coordinated and everything. So I think, and especially because we used to go watching him competing and everything. So I think that kind of make us love the sport. So I started very young age, 5 to 7 years old, competing on those very just competing for fun, there's no pressure and everything, just competing for fun. Then when I moved to Japan when I was 8 years old, that's when I was start training on school over there in Japan. And until I lived in Japan until my 11 years old, until I was 11 years old. Then when I moved back to Brazil, I was still figuring out what sports I wanted to do, because in Japan I used to play baseball. Then I was doing swimming and everything. But when I came to Brazil with 11 years old, that's when I was okay, I want to do track and field. And that's when I start training exclusively for track and field, and thinking oh, I want to be an Olympic athlete or something like that.
That's a great mentality to have at such a young age. And do you mind explaining to me what it's like in Brazil for track and field? Because being an Australian, I don't really know much about what the Brazilian athletics scene is like. What was it like for you?
Yeah, so over in Brazil, track and field is not a very common sport. We had probably in the 90s, we had a lot of good athletes. From 80 to 90s, we had some good athletes, very known Brazil and worldwide. But in the year 2000s and 2010s, we didn't have too much international expression. So our media in the country doesn't help too much. So we didn't have any all famous athletes, and track and field wasn't and still not a very famous sport back in Brazil, especially comparing to soccer. And I think it's kind of like that here too. Rugby, it's a very trendy and very known sport, and people doesn't know too much about track and field. But I think here people still acknowledges a little bit more than back home. But yeah, it's a little bit tough sport there, because we don't have too much how can I say public funds, or even teams and everything. So yeah,
It sounds like you had to kind of make your way and make your name. Now, why not? You had Ronaldinho, you had Neymar. Why not Sigaki? Why didn't you go down the path of soccer?
That's a good question. I think I'm not talented as like them, but yeah, soccer is a very common sport, like to a kid to pursue, like, oh, I want to be a soccer player or something like that. But I never had that dream as a kid. Like, I never like, oh, I want to be a soccer player. Like, especially because as I told as I told you just like before, uh, I was introduced to track and field and different sports at a very young age, and I was competing and everything and doing good. And when you're a kid and you're winning and everything, you like that. You like that feeling. So you don't want like to change or something like that. So I think that's probably the main reason like I stick to track and field, like family, and because I love that feeling.
Well, let's talk about the winning feeling compared to the not winning feeling. How do you think that affects not a young athlete, but athletes in general? How do you you as an athlete bounce back from losing, as well as how do you think athletes should bounce back?
Like mentality wise,
Yes, yeah.
yeah, I think it's very good. Like you especially on track and field. I always said that track and field is a very um personal sport. It's just you against the time. So I I think all the athletes has to have that killer mentality. Like if you're a goal, you go 100%. So that's a very winning mindset. And but I think when you're from like a young age, especially when like we're a successful athlete from young age, you're winning every time and all the time. When you have that leap between like juniors to seniors, that's for me. I always thought that's a huge leap there, because if you're a good junior athlete, you're like on like probably va- the best three athletes in your country as a junior. When you finish your junior year, you go to like the seniors. You are just one more athlete. Like you don't have that how can I say recognition, and you're just struggling a little bit. So I think it's hard to keep that mentality, but you just have to stick doing it, because if it is you're really passionate, and if you truly believe that you want to do that for your life, there is nothing that can stop you.
You talked earlier about Brazil being big in the 80s and 90s there. Now, there's something that we have now that they didn't, and that's social media. How do you feel that that impacts an athlete in regards to success, or if they don't go so well? What are your feelings on social media for an athlete?
Um, yeah, that's a good question. I I don't think that social media is a problem for athletes if they really know how to use it. I am graduated in marketing, so I really saw the both sides, like as an athlete and as a company. And I just think that some athletes needs to use better the social media and the opportunities that social medias and different places that may give you, like some opportunities, even sponsorships. A lot of sponsorships come from social media, even the smallest ones from the biggest ones. Like if you're a very famous media person, you can get attention from a lot of brands, a lot of companies, and you can get good stuff. And sometimes when you're an athlete and you don't have nothing, it's like anything, anything that someone wants to give you or want to sponsor you, it's a huge step. So I just think that athletes needs to understand better the benefits of the social media.
Yeah, of course. Did you have the opportunity to represent your country, wear that blue, green, and yellow?
Oh, yeah. I had one opportunity to represent Brazil. Like it wasn't It was, but it wasn't 100% official. Like, it was here in Australia in 2014. I came in a sports scholarship. Like, um, there is like an organization in Brazil. They have a partnership with a school here in Australia. It's a Westfields school, high school, and every single year they bring an athlete from Brazil to Australia, and they take one athlete from Australia to Brazil. And I was one of those athletes selected to come here, and I represented Brazil. We competed in Gold Coast. It was a very good year for me. I on that year I was third on nationals. I just switched my events because I used to be combined events athlete until 2013, and on the beginning of the year in 2014 I was switching to 400 hurdles, and in July I was already like competing like with some good results and everything, and I made up to third place in national championships. And if I made it to the second and I came close to the second place, I would go to South American Games. But yeah, that's one of my opportunities that I lost to represent my country. And I had like another two opportunities that I lost because injuries and yeah, some um, uh, organization problems.
How did you bounce back from those losses, in a sense? Did it affect you, or did you just keep going?
Yeah, at the time that didn't affect me at all because I always believed in me. Like I always was like, okay, that didn't happen today, or I was fine. Especially when I was training for 400 hurdles, because when I came to third, I was like, man, I've been training for this event for only 6 months, and I already accomplished this. Like I'm I'm top three in my country at my age, and next year I have the Pan American Games, and I was aiming for that like in 2015, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna aim for 2015 Pan American Games and everything. So for me, like didn't making like a national team wasn't like ending career factor at the time. uh, I just I just know it's what I said before. Like I truly believed at the time that like that's what I wanted to do for my life, and I was just keeping hard working. Like, and the people that went in my place, they deserved that too. So
That's very yeah. It's amazing that mentality that you have, and where has that got you now in regards to what you do for yourself? What is Daniel Sigaki doing to help you to help yourself out?
yeah, yeah. Like I think I I I was able to transport the whole mentality, that mentality to my life. And when I when I was deciding to stop like to training, that was in 2017, and I was in uni at the time. I was having hard time in uni because I was having some like more problematic classes and everything, and I was understanding it all because it was all about market, and I didn't have any experience in it, and I was just like, oh, I need some job, and I ended up getting a job at Nike, Nike Brasil, in the marketing department, and I was like, man, that's the opportunity, and I get that opportunity and hold it with both my arms and everything that I have. And I was like, yeah, if I have to switch, I have to switch like now and go all for it, like as I'm going like in a track and everything. So I that year that I spent at Nike, I involved a lot. I learned a lot, and I just sorry. At the time, I found like I was already having like different passions, like as photography and videos, and I was like getting better and better, and my work was kind of being recognized from like different athletes. They like always, oh, I love your work and everything, blah blah blah. And I was like, man, I like doing that. Like I love doing that. and I invest a little bit more. And I had like this amazing opportunity to work with Fernando. He's a very famous person in Brazil. He's 5 times Paralympic champion on kayak, like world champion. And I start working with him and everything, and he loves my work. And yeah, I took that mentality that I have from sport and put on my professional side in photography and videography. So
We can see that working here in Australia and what you've done with Jack and Josh and their podcast. Do you mind talking
yeah,
about what those guys mean to you, and what you're doing with them?
well, Jack is my brother from another mother. Like we just when we met here in 2014, like we clicked straight away. Like we built up a very like good and like relationship. And since then, I always like keep in touch with him a little bit. He came to Brazil in 2015. Then I reached him back last year. I was like, yeah, man, I want to go to Australia. I'll go to study cinema and TV production. He was like, yeah, yeah, come here for sure. Like, I'll talk to my parents and everything. So yeah, they are helping me out here. Like, they're my Australian family here. I don't have my Brazilian family like here with me, but they are like my whole support here. And Josh, man, Josh is we met like training at Camden, and he's a very nice boy. And like as Jack told on a episode, like we were just training and talking about that, and Jack just like, yeah, let's do like a podcast and everything, and we just started doing it because Jack said, man, Daniel can produce and everything. And I was like, yeah, man, like I can do it all, like everything related to audiovisual. I got you guys back. So yeah, we built up a very good relationship from like I don't know. I just think it's that it's a good straight connection. We didn't even need to talk too much. It was like just clicked it.
It's crazy what you guys have achieved so far, and I love the graphics, and I guess we have you to thank for that. Talk to me about the logo. How did that go about? How did you go about creating that and your idea behind it?
Yeah, everybody loved the logo, and I don't know. I just had the idea. I was like, yeah, we're gonna do like, cause I never saw any podcasts like uh doing the way that we wanted to do, like interviewing athletes and bring them and showing like putting not just athletes but everything sports related, like bringing some like coaches and like person from like health area, sorry. And um and I was like, man, like about the logo, I was just like, man, we should go from like some colors, like kind of the mix. Like I love the blue tracks, and I was like, yeah, we're gonna use the blue track. I want like the mic because that symbolizes the podcast, of course. And I was like, man, what else that we can bring for like to be very characteristic of us, our podcast? And I was like, man, that's gonna be very happy, like funny. And I was like, let's just like very characteristics. Like Jack is a very easygoing guy, like funny and everything. I was like, man, just put that robe. He loves like that pattern. I was like, man, just use that robe, and we take a photo of that. And Josh is like a very athletic guy and everything. We're like, well, man, just wear the Australia T-shirt. We take a photo and let's do this. And I just delivered the logo to the designer, gave her all the idea. I did like a whole sketch for her. She was like, oh, this is perfect. Like you already did the whole logo for me. I'm just gonna make this a little bit prettier. And that's how the logo born.
Well, it sounds like you're very passionate about it, mate, and that's going back to what you do with your sport growing up. And I want to know what does the future hold for you? Are you looking at getting back on track, or what would you like to do with your life in the future?
Oh yeah, so yeah, I've been training a little bit here with Jack. Like that's not my main goal here. Like as I told you, like I came here to study and everything. So that's my where's my focus going. But I had like that, like from 2018 to 19, I had like a whole year. I didn't want to see track, never like talk about it too much. I was kind of over it. So I was like, yeah, I want a year out of it. And now, like, I came back and having Jack here and training with him and everything kind of bring that energy and that happiness back to me. And we were training, we are training really good. And probably gonna compete this year, like just for fun, like just to have that feeling back again. And yeah, like maybe I compete a little bit, but for now, I don't say that. I can't say that it's like, oh yeah, I want to go come back to straight to track and everything. But yeah, I might do it like for love and for fun. But I'm very focused on my professional cinematographer and photographer career right now.
Well, I can't wait to see the movie about your life because what you've done so far sounds really good. Kicking goals, and yeah, I wish you the best of luck with everything here in Australia and when you go back to Brazil as well. And
All right.
hopefully, we see you with a Brazilian uniform and a Nike tick on that uniform. Then you can look down and go, "Wow, this is where I
Ooh.
am now." Thank you very much for joining me.
Yeah, all right, man. Thank you for inviting me. That was a pleasure to be here, man.
Thank you, Dan, for joining me for a chat on Vision Podcast, episode 71. Dan has a very awesome way of looking at life, and as you have heard, he shows that in every aspect. So I wish you the best of luck in your future, Dan, for whatever you choose to do, whether it be athletics, representing your country, or whether it be in your profession. And I thank you, the listeners, for joining me once again on Vision Podcast. Join me next week. Who knows who we're going to get?